Edgar Wright is finally back. Yes, the director of Scott Pilgrim, Baby Driver, the Coronado trilogy, has a brand new film based on a Stephen King novel called The Running Man. Yes, there was a movie with Arnold back in the day called the same thing. It was fine. This is more of a straight adaptation that Stephen King very much seemed to have had some of his hands in with it helping Edgar Wright get this made. And after watching this movie, I can say I don't know why I wasn't like over the moon excited for this, because I very much enjoyed The Running Man. Everybody, welcome back to a brand new movie review. Today we're discussing The Running Man, again directed by Edgar Wright, also written by him and Michael Bacall, and it stars Glen Powell, Emilia Jones, Josh Brolin, Coleman Domingo, Michael Cera, Lee Pace, and a lot more. And it's about one man who joins a game show in which contestants allowed to go anywhere in the world are pursued by hunters hired to kill them. Now, just that concept alone, I think, makes this like very much an entertaining ride. And specifically, I guess on the surface, you can say they're basically playing a very deadly game of hide and go seek, which is my favorite game as a kid. I still love playing hide and go seek. The day my son wants to play hide and go seek, I will be there to play hide and go seek with him, and he'll probably be able to find me. Man, The Running Man very much surprised me because I didn't know what to expect from this. The marketing, truly enough, was like this wild, batshit, adrenaline-fueled action film. And like on the surface, I think that's definitely what this movie is it has a very wacky thriller action vibe to it with some nicely knitted humor in there. But it's also a movie that at the center of it is a very dark, satirical aspect and very much a look at our reality TV, but specifically the way that our world, our government, all of that stuff works, and makes it feel to be a really relevant thing. And while I'm not familiar with King's work on this book, from what I've talked to and understood from others is that this book is pretty dark in terms of what it wants to talk about. And I'm happy, and what I can really say is that The Running Man finds a nice fine balance between fun and also making you ponder a lot. And that's the biggest thing, is that when this movie ended, I literally left the theater pondering different elements of it. And I really want to watch, and I really want to read the book now, so that way I can kind of dive in and see more of what King had to say. But that is The Running Man. I have a lot to talk about within this movie, but what I do want to say is that if you guys are interested in winning this hat, this shirt, and a couple other awesome Running Man movie packages, I am doing a giveaway just one more day. This review is coming out on a Tuesday. The giveaway ends Wednesday. If you're watching this afterwards, sorry, the giveaway is already ended, but you should definitely go check out that giveaway video. Please leave your thoughts, put in your comments in one of my YouTube shorts. You can also find it on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all for more entries. But without further ado, let's talk The Running Man. And I think one of my biggest takeaways with this movie is just Glen Powell. Like, Glen Powell, I've always really enjoyed as this actor. I love him in all these different dynamics. I think he's such a fun guy. And I think one of my biggest things is that I've really appreciated all the different roles that he's taken on. But most notably, like, Hitman was kind of that change of trajectory for me, specifically in his career. I loved him in Top Gun. I loved him in Twisters. And Hitman was the movie I watched, and I was like, this is a very different performance. It's dark, it's comedic, but it's wild. And The Running Man, there was a lot of talk where Edgar Wright really wanted Glen Powell for the role, but said Stephen King has to approve you. Stephen King watched Hitman and said, yes, that's the guy. And you can see why. He has to disguise himself. He has to do all these different things. But the way that Glen Powell has this cheek of nature to him in those roles, in those moments, but at the same time taking it into a more serious route, really always adds to the tension of every single field moment. And I think The Running Man might arguably be my favorite performance of his yet. Hitman kind of goes back and forth with that, but the reason I really feel this is that his charisma is to such a high standard in here, but his frustration, his anger, his love for his family, his motivation for doing this is something that I can very much relate to with my wife and my son, as someone who just goes out, supports his family as much as possible, and wants to do everything to give them everything that they possibly could have, even if it never feels like enough. The Running Man very much has that exact aspect to it, and I was very, very surprised to see Glen Powell kind of have that nuance to him. But also alongside this, while you see the frustration, the anger, the pain, the torture, the charm to his character, the other thing that you really much see here is he is a bona fide action star. The action in here is absolutely incredible. It is magnificent, and there should be no regard or even wonder on that. Edgar Wright is always impressed us with the action, whether it's Baby Driver, whether it's Scott Pilgrim, or even look at like films like Hot Fuzz and World's End. Like, I feel like you just see Edgar Wright develop so much more as a director, but the way that he can switch and stylized cameras to add to all that flair, but he really much shines a light on how incredible Glen Powell is as an actor. And I think for me, this is my biggest takeaway is, damn, he impressed me once again. I was already impressed by him as an actor, but this film just impressed me more. He is the massive standout of this. I will say that the rest of the cast, while good, I don't think gets a ton to do in this movie, but they all make a very standing and memorable moment for it. Emilia Jones is someone that I think maybe should have been introduced in the film a little bit earlier, but still makes a standing point and a very important one. Josh Brolin is kind of this prevalent figure throughout the entire film, and he is absolutely dynamic in it. Perfect casting there. Lee Pace, same thing, kind of has this through line throughout the entire film, but also just awesome. Katie O'Brien, another one. I wish we would have gotten more of Katie in this film, but also just fantastic for the role that was given to her. Coleman Domingo, through line all throughout. He plays the host of this game show, and he is so damn charming. I just cannot get enough of that guy. And Michael Cera. Michael Cera might have one of the standout moments of this year in an action film. My God, I loved his character in here and how awesome he was. I could have watched 100 more hours of Michael Cera in this movie. I'm so happy he was in this because he was fantastic, and I loved him. I loved him so much in here. While the cast is one sense to this, I really do think the big standout of all of this is Edgar Wright. This is a film that I think kind of, again, finds that really fine balance in terms of tone and making it dark, satirical, but also fun and charming. And it is something that I did not expect from the tone because that's not what the marketing sold. And I actually kind of wish, especially towards the third act, where it really takes this darker shift, I actually wish that darker shift would have hit even harder. From what I understand, the book has a little bit of a slightly different ending, and I actually kind of wish that was the ending that they kind of went for. Again, it's still a great ending. I actually really thoroughly love the ending for this film, but I think for what was building up towards it, it felt like there was always building towards a bomb that was about to go off, and it kind of went off, but the explosion was not as big as you would expect. I kind of like equated to that scene in Jingle All the Way where like the postman is like threatening to blow up the whole building, and he's like shaking it and he throws it, and then like the explosion is like tiny, and it's still funny for what the moment is, but it's something of that nature for this, and that's kind of the only big nitpick or issue I would have with the film. I can also see, if I'm looking at a mixed aspect, is some people finding the tone to be a little bit too messy. I actually really liked it. I liked how zany this was at times. I think it kind of fit for the persona of what they were kind of shooting for. And I think it actually worked. And I think it works because of Edgar Wright as a director. I really think Edgar Wright as a director was one of the perfect fits for this, and it actually makes me again look forward to seeing him do other things. I think Last Night in Soho was one of those shifts in directorial efforts that was a little bit different than anything he had ever done before, and I think the same thing kind of goes for here. There's a little bit of a shift. There's obviously similarities to things that he's touched on previously, but thematically, I would say this is easily his deepest film yet. And again, there are things that I left the theater pondering about our society. And I think, again, it is very relevant to today's standards with everything going on in the news. On the surface level of all that, he directs these sequences with such great flair and action and introduces you to characters that you absolutely enjoy and want to see more of and see Glen Powell survive. And that for me is the biggest aspect and takeaways. Again, Edgar Wright's directing, his quick, tight pacing, that again just adds so much flair to a movie that could have been just deeply dark and depressing, but he actually adds a flair that makes it entertaining while at the same time making you ponder, like, Should I laugh at that moment, or was that a little fucked up? Why I'm here to tell you is that The Running Man is a movie you'll want to run to the theaters for. I honestly found that Edgar Wright delivered a razor-sharp, adrenaline-fueled satire that brilliantly attacks our government and obsessions with reality TV, all while keeping you on the edge of your seat. It's thrilling, but will also leave you pondering. This is a very great mix and a very unique blockbuster that I don't think would have worked in this summer, but I think is coming out at a really good time, where if you're wanting something that's going to make you think a little bit, this is something for there, but at the same time, if you just want to enjoy it for what it is, that is the case here. It very much builds its case. It has a grand time at the theater, and I definitely had a good time with The Running Man. So with all that said, I'm going to give this film a 4 out of 5. Thank you so much again, guys, for watching this. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Again, I do have that giveaway going right now. So if you're watching this right as the review comes out, well, lucky you, you have a chance to go throw down. And I'll also throw this down. If you comment on this video that you want that movie package, that will be a bonus entry of 2 entries on the wheel when I go to throw in the wheel and make it spin all around for who got entered. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much again for watching this. And of course, until next time, stay classy.